Hi everybody, Eugene here with Darkroom Software. In this quick video, we're going to learn how we can create unique QR codes to help with our workflow in Darkroom Core 2024. This is to go along with the option of a QR code scanner, which was just recently added. Let's jump into my computer and see how we do this. Okay, so we're in Darkroom Core here. And the first and probably simplest option is to go to the quick import setup, and we're going to click create QR code. And for this demo, I'm going to create a named sub event, and we would give it a name. Let's go with Mike Smith. And how this would be used is at, let's say, an event where you want to create sub catalogs for each user, guest, or family if you're doing portraits. So we have that named sub event, and we click here, you'll see it updates, and then we would click print, and then you would print to your favorite printer. In this case, I have a Canon laser printer. I've already printed one out, and here we go. So now within Core, let's switch back here. I'm using handle QR code commands only. So if I switch to my photo workshop, I have a catalog selected. Now when I scan this code, it'll now create a sub catalog, and I can capture images into that subcatalog. Okay, so I'm using a hot folder camera, but this would work similar if you had a tethered camera. So I'm going to just drag in an image, and those images are now in that subcatalog. And I would then take my next QR code for the next session, scan that, and then we would have subcatalogs divided and named by the guest. So that's using kind of the most simple version of this. Next, I want to show you using a template to create QR codes. So in this situation, and I'll have these templates available to download so you can test it out yourself. It is using a name. So in this situation, we're not going to be using the command. You could add the asterisk, capital S, equals, and that would use a command. But in this situation, I'm going to show you how this is just a little bit different. So I'm going to switch over to my photo workshop and select that template. And it's giving me instructions to click T, and this would now create a QR code, and let's print that out, package number 3, and we have this QR code. The way this one's a little bit different, you can scan the screen with your phone and see what it reads, but we go into Notepad just to see the difference between how these codes are working and used. So you can see that's just a name versus this one has a command built into it. So if you're just using a name, then what you would want to do is under quick import setup, rather than commands, we're going to use create a new sub event named with data. This essentially does the exact same thing, but you can see the codes just work a little bit different. So now if we switch to our photo workshop, we'll have a new, they'll create a new catalog with that information we just added. And that's just the small difference between using commands versus a named sub event. So we can now drag in a couple images there, it'll import them in, and if we switch back to our photo library, you can see they're separate. So next we're gonna get just a little bit more complicated, but this is really helpful in different types of workflows. I am going to switch to create a sub event from a URL, and I've already created a few QR codes and printed them, but let's see how this one's different from the ones before. So this is set up on a 4x6. It would print out, and the printer would automatically cut these in half, and then I would need a cut here. But this is using a die sub 4x6 printer. And if we look at this, we can see that it has my event gallery URL and then slash, and then it's creating a random alphanumeric code. Now this is going to be helpful is whenever it uploads to event gallery, that catalog or that subcatalog that will be created will be its own individual gallery, and then the recipient can then scan the code with their phone and access just their specific images. So let's go ahead, and I already have some printed out, but we'll see this in action. We'll use that one right there. And if you look, if I click on another picture, it's going to automatically update these QR codes. So print out a 4x6. Unfortunately, I forgot to set it to cut, but you would just cut these, and then you have 4 unique codes. Each one of these is going to be different. If you look at the code, they are all different. And so now if we go to, I have another catalog set up just so we don't get too confused, because this is a lot of information coming at you. Now when we scan this code, it's going to create a unique gallery catalog. Let's copy in a couple images. And now those images are automatically being uploaded to event gallery. So if I grab my phone, I can scan that code, and you can see that those images I just captured. And we'll do this so you can see it kind of in real time. So it's automatically uploading those images, and if I refresh now, those images are all being uploaded separately. So we'll do that one more time. Let's see. I have a different code. Oops, we don't need to switch back. I'm going to scan this code. It's going to create a new gallery. So this would be a separate group of people or individual. And we'll copy those images in. And those are all being uploaded to event gallery. So what's really nice about this option is because that's a 9-digit hexadecimal code, it would be virtually impossible to guess the URL to get to that. So the only option to really access those images is through this QR code, and you can hand this to them and they can then go and view their images. Now we're going to build on that same idea and now go from an event to, let's say, an amusement park that has a photo station where they can check out, and you have multiple photographers throughout the amusement park, and then they select their photos. So in this example, I have a photographer, and this code is coded with the photographer's information, so you can see EW there. And if we went to a separate photographer, they would have their own, and double click on that and you can see that one's coded with BD. So the idea behind this is that you would print out for the photographer. If they're taking awesome pictures and they're selling, then you can give commission. So whenever we scan, let me see, I have one example right here. We switch over to a different gallery. Let's see. We can put it in there. Switch to our photo workshop, and then scan the image. You can see that the subcatalog is marked with that photographer. We'll do one more and copy in a couple pictures. Oops. And so in this situation, we're still using the URL, so they can still scan the image with their phone, view a preview, and then know which images they're going to select once they get to the checkout or payment area, just to help speed things along a little bit faster. And so if, let's say, they order a 4x6, if I had a price on this 4x6, we could then look at this order, and the catalog name is added here, so you could then select all the images for that photographer, run a report, export order data, and then you would have a total of how many sales you got from that photographer, and then possibly give them a percentage. So that's a cool way to have different photographers and know who's photographing well and whose prints are selling, and make sure you take care of your employees. So with these codes, all of these are using the URL. You'll want to make sure that you go in, and you're not going to want to use a picture of my son, but you'll replace the background, and just make sure you update it with your own event gallery URL. And that's the same for these as well. You'll want to do it for all four. So we have school by teacher, so you can it'd be grade and teacher. You can scan it, and then kids they're organized by their class, so it's easy to find. Oh, one other thing I wanted to bring up. So we know that we can scan. Let's switch catalogs just so we can see this. So when they're checking out in the amusement park setup workflow, they would hand their code to the salesperson, and then they would scan, and then those images show up. So it makes it a little bit easier to find and build your orders. Okay, so we're going to take it one step further. I'm going to switch to set QR code data to image comment. And what that's going to do is whenever I scan a code, it's then going to embed information into the EXIF information that is then searchable and usable by templates. So let's switch to our setup tab and look at a template that takes advantage of this type of option. So this option is going to prompt you to enter first name, last name, team name, and player number when you click the T key. And we can look at this. This is pretty general. It just has percent and then file name, and it's that's what's going to prompt for the field. And then the code is replacing in a string of information the first name. So first equals first name, so that would be replaced. So this will be included, so you kind of dive into it a little bit more, and this does get a little bit more complicated. But now what we'll do is select that template. I'm gonna hit T, and it'll prompt me to fill in a name, and we'll go with Joe Jones. Plays for the Cubs, and his number is 16. So now all of that information is now coded into this QR code, and let's print out a 4x6. Now that we have, let's say, a whole bunch of codes created like that, we can now switch into our sports catalog. And there's nothing special about these. I just created those catalogs separately to kind of stay a little bit more organized. And once again, we're applying the data to the image comments or the EXIF information. So now when I scan this code and capture a couple images, and let's do this one. I already had a couple pre-printed. Let's scan that one. Ooh, let me make sure I scanned it while Darkroom was selected. Now, if you're using a tethered camera, this is not an issue because Darkroom would automatically be selected. I'm using a hot folder, so I'm deselecting the application. So, and then we'll do one more. And these are all coded with different information. So now when I pull in a couple soccer photos. And so now what we've done is we've attached that information. You can see right down here or user comments, first name Eugene, last Wise, Tigers. If we select this image, it will have separate information for that kid, and same thing for these down here. Let's rotate that. Where this becomes super powerful is now when we select a template that is made to accept that data, it would then fill in this information: player number, team name, first and last name. We select our soccer image, it's updated, and those two images had the same information. And now you're entering data. I've made another video that goes into bulk creating QR codes using Bartender. So rather than using this form within a template, you can bulk create QR codes for a whole league or a school. So if that's something you're interested, check that out. That is just one more step of complexity, but you can see from just kind of basic creating separate catalogs all the way to sharing on Event Gallery with unique URLs for privacy, to now data entry for a school or sports league. So this is all possible, and you used to be able to use the QR code scanner in the camera. It's just became a little bit cumbersome, so that's why we added the option to add a QR code scanner. If you haven't seen that video, there's a separate video going to be released at the same time on how to set up and add a QR code scanner to Darkroom Core. I know that was a lot of information. We'll have a lot more coming soon as people start using this and asking more questions. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you next time.